In this fantasy episode of the Sonny and Share pod, we go through Game Week 24's top goal scorers. We then have got a special episode focused on January transfers and who we're looking to get in to our fantasy teams from those. We also look at differentials. As we are obviously running a head-to-head league, differentials are getting so key now, and with going against the template is essential. So me and Butler are going to go through our top 5 differential picks for the imminent future and for the next few weeks. Welcome to the Sonny Share Pods, midweek fantasy ep. How are you, Alex Butler? Just me and Butler tonight. Butler is coming off the back of a horrible loss. How you feeling, mate?
Yeah, like I actually did all right in fantasy this week, getting 69 points.
Well.
But in terms of head to head, it was just pure standard that I'd come up against someone who got the top points this week. And if it wasn't for Newcastle being so dreadful, I think I would have been all right. But hey ho, it's just one of those things. Wimbledon won tonight though, which is good. Thank God. It's only our second win in 14, so I'll take that.
Their 88th minute winner, was it?
Yeah, needed that desperately. 4 points from safety now. That is huge.
Port Vale away, was it?
Yeah, they're bottom.
Jesus Christ, that's a big win, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. Big game. But yeah, how are you? How are you doing? How was your
good,
week?
mate.
You won finally, didn't you?
Oh, fuck me. My luck turned round finally. Like, just all the listers and stuff. I was playing Charlie, so Chronicles of Charlie was giving me a lot of shit. Pete stirred up the pot on Friday by putting a message in a group saying that I'd slated Charlie when I hadn't said a word, which did crack me up. Juices were flowing. Charlie was going on about how many points I left on the bench, which then came back to haunt him because I think he left about 30 points on the bench. So, and I think I won by 4, so my luck really turned round. But
there was a lot of luck this weekend, mate. Like those that had João Pedro got very lucky because
so lucky. I should have bought him in actually. I bottled it. I was going to do a -4 as well.
But realistically, we knew he wasn't going to start, and he didn't. Yeah. And if Chelsea hadn't been so dreadful in the first half, he would have not come on until much later. And you know,
I know. And so many people captained him, which pissed me off as well. For like
lost to me.
Yeah, like 10 points. It's just obscene. But we'll just start by just going through the top point scorers. So it's actually with the theme of this week's episode. So 8 out of the top 10 point scorers this week were huge differentials this week and under 3% owned across the game. So 8 out of the 10 players were under 3% owned. So Madueke came in for the injured Saka to haul 14 points with a goal, assist, clean sheet and 3 bonus. Yeah, I can't imagine many people have got him. I think if I go down, I think he's owned by 0.7%. So,
well, the guy that got the top points this week in fantasy overall had him, obviously.
Classic. And then, like Butler was saying, Liverpool trios. If you'd persisted with Liverpool players, fair play to you, but you were very lucky this week, particularly Ekitike. Like Ekitike, I actually put here the Liverpool trio of Ekitike, Wirtz and Konate all came through with 13, 12 and 11 points for their owners.
That might be the one and only time you mentioned Konate in terms of points.
Yeah, it was actually quite a nice story, actually. What did you see? Did his dad pass away? Is that right?
Something like, yeah, I think
something like that, and he scored. Ekitike had blanked in his last 5 games and rocked up with a brace. Wirtz now is his 4th double-digit haul in his last 8 games with 4 goals and assists. He really is starting to pop a little bit. And actually, I know they've got City at home this weekend, but after that, they've actually got an excellent run all the way up to game week 32 with Sunderland away, Forest away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, and Fulham at home. So definitely worth considering Liverpool. Not necessarily the treble up just yet, but I definitely fancy a few of them. I've had them, got rid of them. What do you think, mate? I know you got absolutely done by Liverpool players this weekend.
I mean, City are vulnerable, right? You know, they were They were cruising against Spurs in that first half.
Oh, what was going on? It was
Then
shocking, wasn't it?
it was Spurs were absolutely dreadful
So
in that
bad,
first
so
half,
bad.
and then somehow came back like I don't know what I don't know. It's hard to explain what happened in that game because all of a sudden it was 2-2. I was like, what's just happened? How have City let this 2-0 lead? And again, Haaland was really non-existent.
Exactly, and that what was he was that centre half for Spurs, Dragishin, one of the worst individual
Oh,
performances I've ever seen. Like
yeah. I
what? And
mean,
yeah, Haaland. I just don't. Do you know what?
like they
Oh,
had
I really.
Polinia at centre back.
Yeah, it was a mess. Wasn't it? First half they looked like a Sunday league team, didn't they? There was
Oh
no
yeah,
atmosphere. Like you put on the group, our little group, there was literally no atmosphere at all. It was crazy.
yeah. Yeah, but as you say, realistically, I don't. The only one out of those Liverpool maybe is I'd touch Verts. I just think Liverpool have got. You called those fixture out. Sunderland away is not easy. Sunderland are unbeaten at home this
Yeah,
season, and they're very good. They were very good last night
yeah, yeah,
against Burnley. Forest are all right at home as well. Just to call that out, that's not an easy game. West Ham are on a bit of a resurgent. Wouldn't say that's an easy game either. Wolves, that's probably a win. Like Wolves are going
yeah, yeah,
down.
yeah.
No
Spurs.
idea what you're going to
Yeah,
get out of Spurs.
yeah, true, true.
Brighton away is not easy either, and then
No,
Fulham's never an easy game either. So yes, Liverpool it looks favourable on the fantasy app, but realistically, I don't think it is as favourable as you think. Plus, Liverpool played well once, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, let's
I
get
know.
them back in."
So
And it's
true.
like
You know,
steady,
it's
steady,
horrible.
steady
It's
on.
horrible not having them in your team when they do that, though. That's the thing with it. But
Yeah,
like, but
yeah.
you're right.
But in
Like,
the
why
long,
would why?
realistically,
Yeah, why
yeah,
would you have them in your team unless you've just stuck with Ekatike like for the last 6 weeks because you couldn't transfer him out? Like that's what's happened, and people have got really lucky with him.
yeah,
Fair play
agreed.
though. But
Yeah,
we'll move on to the theme of this week's set. So we're going to do a little section here where Butler's going to lead it on January transfers. So related to fantasy, we'll have more of a sort of chat on this in a little bit of a more in-depth schedule on Friday. But we're going to look mainly at sort of fantasy assets and just brush over the brief January transfers, mate. Yeah.
yeah. I'm not going to go into every detail of every
No,
single
no.
transfer. What I've done is I've called out who I think are probably the five biggest standout January transfers, the ones that are probably going to have the biggest fantasy impact. Obviously, we had a few happen yesterday on deadline day, so we'll call some of those out. But what I've done is I've ranked the transfers that I feel this obviously people will have their different opinions, but I feel are the best five transfers for their team
Yeah.
in January. Obviously, I think it's going to be very clear because he's already banging in goals for City. But obviously, number one is Semenyo. He's 7.7 mil. He's second in total points in fantasy right now with 137. He's pretty much 50% owned. So most people probably already have him in his team. Probably not going to talk about him in detail. He's obviously a must have right now
Yeah.
because of
Agreed.
half the game owns him. Number two is Mark Gurhey. Again, really good signing for City. They really needed a centre back. He's 5.2 mil on fantasy. He's fifth in total defending points with 114. And again, he's 37% owned. So again, we're not really going to talk about him because over a quarter of the game owns him. So we're not even going to bother looking
Yeah.
into him. This is where it gets the conversation's going to increase a bit. So number three on my list. Now this is quite funny because he's only scored one goal this season and he's made a £48 million transfer, which
Mad.
which which is mad. The fact that he scored one goal for Wolves, who are bottom.
Disgusting amount of money that
Yeah,
is.
at £48 million is Strand Larsen. Now we won't get into the detail of whether he's worth £48 million, but we'll talk about that another day. But in terms of fantasy, he's only 6.1 mil, so he's in probably a good price bracket. It's likely he's going to play most games because it sounds like Mateta failed his medical at Milan. He's got a knee problem. it's a bit in the dark there around what's happening with that. Um, and Stranlos is only 0.9% owns, not even a percent of the game owns him. Now that could significantly rise, I feel,
Yeah,
before this game week comes along. But as we said, he's only got one goal. So it'd be really interesting to look at Palace because they've really struggled of late. Obviously losing Gurhi, Mateta's not been firing. Um,
they
as
got
they went in the
decent.
summer.
They got
Yeah,
decent fixtures, haven't they?
they have, but they're knackered, aren't they? That
Yeah,
Europe
they've
has
got.
really, Europe has beaten them up a bit,
Yeah.
and
They've got what, Burnley at home and Wolves at home in game week 26 and 27.
yeah. So
So
you could probably look at those, but I suppose it's what's coming in between, isn't it, of those
that's
fixtures
it.
for them?
That's it. But I just wanted to. I said to Butler beforehand, actually, just a shout out to one of the boys back home, Con John. So he's actually a Palace fan. Actually got to work today, and he sent me a text saying, "Chucking Strand Larson in from the get go, suicidal or genius," is what he said to me. And I said I rate it, very bold. But he was saying like he needs to get on some differentials just because where he is, he's like third or fourth or fifth or something in one of our leagues. He said he needs to get on some differential. And I said, you know what? For head to head, he's essential. And I said, what about Mateta? And he said he thinks his knees done. Obviously, something's wrong with his knee from that Milan medical. But he said Larson's definitely going to start up top for Palace. That's from a Palace fan. Not that that's reliable, but yeah, shout out to Connor. Like Butler said, 0.9% owned, 6.1 mil. Just chuck him in for
He's going
crack,
to
don't you?
start, isn't he? He's going to
He's going to
start,
start. He is.
but he hasn't played. I did look it up. He hasn't played a lot of football
No, he
for
hasn't. He
Wolves.
hasn't.
So he's going to take a while to get back up to match sharpness. Now, we've seen what's happened already this season when players haven't played a lot of football. They've picked up injuries, right? So
Yeah.
by all means, take an early punt on him, see what happens. But you've got to be aware of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he actually had he was nursing an Achilles injury from the start of the season. Like he was just
okay,
like his minutes at the start of the season were all over the shop and recently as well. So like he hasn't played 90 minutes since game week 17,
okay,
which
fair
is
enough.
not the nicest stat, but like I said, now he's got that move, he probably needed to get out of Wolves really, didn't he? It was a bit of a
Yeah,
especially
exactly
without
that.
Cunha there, like didn't have a lot of service, did he? To be honest.
Cool. So we'll just move on then to number 4 on my list, and that's Tammy Abraham. He obviously is probably going to be starting a lot for Villa. Ollie Watkins is out injured. We don't know how long for. Tammy Abraham's only 6 mil on fantasy, and he's 0.2% owned. Again, I feel like that number will increase
Yeah,
before this game week. But it'd be really interesting to see how Villa use him. He did score the other day. It was
yeah,
ruled out for VAR. So I feel he could be a good little differential in your team, especially with Wally Watkins' injuries. What do you think?
yeah. I do like that. I do like that. I must say. Yeah, Watkins out with a hamstring injury. He picked it up in that Europa League game against Red Bull Salzburg. So yeah, we don't know how long he's out, but Tammy started. What was interesting, he just started straight away, didn't he? Um,
Yeah, he's that type of player that can come in and start straight away, isn't he? He's not. He knows what the Premier League's about. You know, he's been
Yeah,
around.
he's
He's an
been at Villa
experienced
before
player.
as well, hasn't he? He's been at Villa before, so knows what the crack is. Like, I think, like you said, if he's going to start, the only thing they didn't look. I can't believe they actually lost that game. To be honest, 10 men against 10 men Brentford. It was crazy, really. But I think if
Great
that
result for
goal goes,
Brentford, by the way. They're
yeah,
in a right old fight for the European places.
but if that Tammy Abraham goal gets given, do you know what I mean? I think Villa go on to win because it was in like
Mm,
the 60th minute or something. So yeah, he's definitely a shout. I think he's 0.2% owned. That's mad.
I know, mad. And then last I've got on my list is again, it's a very random one, but in terms of fantasy options, is Oscar Bob at number 5. Again, he's moved from Man City to Fulham, so there is a likely that he's going to play. However, I probably feel like it's one more for the future with Harry Wilson's contract being out in the summer.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on there. I think he's got a bit of a hammy at the moment anyway, so he hasn't played a lot for City
No.
either. So he has struggled with injuries. So maybe just keep an eye on that one um, moving forward. But in terms of maybe a differential down the line, definitely maybe one to
Yeah,
look at,
definitely.
but it may be a bit too soon.
Yeah.
So I just as well, I've just called out some other just intriguing picks that these are real rogue, I'd say, if you want to go rogue in fantasy, you've got these rogue ones. There's Tyreek George, who's moved from Chelsea to Everton on loan. You got Brennan Johnson, who's also moved from Spurs to Palace, hasn't really played as of yet. Now, one that I probably will be more intrigued about is Mamdou Sarr at Chelsea, who's been recalled from on loan at Strasbourg. Now,
Okay.
this is an interesting one because obviously Liam Rossinian knows him from Strasbourg.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the captain at Strasbourg for a few times under Liam Rossinia. So that
Mm.
says something. The fact that they've brought him back, I know they've got a bit of shortage at centre back. I'd be really intrigued to keep an eye on him to see what he does going forward. Obviously, fantasy favourite for everyone. Pascal Gross is back at
Yeah.
Brighton. I think he scored, but it
Bagged.
was
Yeah, he
disallowed,
bagged at
didn't
the
he?
weekend, didn't he? No,
No, he
he got
did
a goal,
score,
didn't
didn't
he?
he?
Yeah, he did score,
Yeah,
I
I
think.
think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah. Buonate, who's played at 3 Premier League clubs this season, which is some kind of record.
Yeah.
And then how can you not love Adama Traore? I love the way that he like scared the life out of João Pedro the other night. João
Hey,
Pedro
do you
gave
see
him
it?
a
Do you see it?
shove.
Do you see him throw Cucurella like a rag doll off the pitch
Yeah.
as well?
But then it was João Pedro shoved him and then realised who he just
He's
shoved and
like,
like ran away,
oh
didn't he?
shit. Yeah, yeah. Well, it was funny.
But
It's great. Some
I
of the
mean,
memes online. Some of the
they
memes
are
online.
funny. Realistically, Adama Traore is probably not going to get you loads of fantasy points, but for a bit of a laugh, there he is. So yeah, those are some of the picks. Keep an eye on them, I would say. See what they come up with. I think in the more intriguing ones like Tyreek George, there's a lot of hype about this kid.
Yeah.
Nearly went to Fulham in the summer. That didn't go through. David Moyes has generally got a good eye for young talent. So it'd be interesting to see how much he actually, with Jack Grealish out for the rest of the season, could be
Yeah.
interesting to see how much he actually plays. And as I said, that
True.
Mamdou Sarr for Chelsea, just keep an eye on him and see how much he's going to actually play in the coming weeks under
Mm.
Liam Rossinier.
Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Well, like I said, we'll go into a few more of the January transfers on Friday's ep. But yeah, really interesting about particularly the ones with the ownership. Like we often find that when we have January transfers, particularly from outside of the league, but a lot of these are within the league, aren't they?
Mm.
Which is good as well. So we sort of know their potential. But we'll just go on to differentials. So we're just going to define what a differential is, just for the listeners. So, a differential player is any player that is owned by less than 10% of the game. Okay, obviously, these ownerships fluctuate throughout the season based on players' form, whether they're injured, that sort of thing. But that is the classification of a differential. Obviously, the lower ownership is more of a differential. Okay, so what we're actually going to do, I've got a huge list here. I'm not going to go through. I just had a bit of fun earlier looking through the best differential players based on sort of the eye test fixtures, whether they're in form or not. But I actually categorize them into ownership categories. So the sort of top end of a differential is between 10% and 5% owned. Then we've got our sort of middle bracket, 5%, 2%, and then our real differentials are under 2% owned. So I just split some into forwards, midfielders, and defenders. And I've got a couple of goalkeepers here as well. But we're actually going to just have a little pick, aren't we? Sort of a top
Yeah,
five.
just
Do you want
before
to
we get
go?
into them as
Yeah, go
well,
on, mate.
Siege, I
Go on.
think the reason as well why
Yes. Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
really look at differentials is because of how. So those of you that are listening that don't know much about our league, we obviously run a head-to-head league. Now,
Yeah.
differentials are crucial in a
Huge.
head-to-head league because if your opponent
Huge.
doesn't have them and they do well, they are automatically giving you those extra points you need to win your matchup in that week. So in terms of head to head, they are huge. Obviously, for fantasy, they help you for a prolonged period of time with points, but more so in head to head because of how much impact they can have on one week to another. And we know we've got some managers in our league who have really grasped that early
Yeah,
and have really benefited from it, helping them go up the table. So that's the main reason we're looking into this. But obviously, you can use your differentials for total points as well.
definitely. And I think like we'll probably when we start next year's head-to-head season, we'll probably do a few of the early eps about actual head-to-head strategy, won't we? Because
Yeah.
picking differentials is actually one of the main strategies you look for. Like when Butler was doing his wild card team, last week, we went through it and a lot of his picks were based on differentials because where he is in the league, he's been obviously very unlucky, which we know about, but he picked someone like Brobby up front who's done really well. Like 1.6% owned, Sunderland, like he was so unlucky not to return last night, returned against West Ham away, but that won you that game the first week, didn't it? Those sort of things.
Yeah.
And I think you also picked and Die, didn't you? Who's only 4.1% owned now after coming back from AFCON. So you've got a couple of, I know obviously they didn't perform this week, but let's be honest, they performed 1 out of 3. You're looking really good, aren't you, against your opponent?
Yeah, exactly. And I think Ben had Krupi Jr., didn't he?
Yeah.
Who again is lowly percentage owned, and he's playing a lot of games at the moment. I'm just looking at your list. I won't name names right now, but oh my god, there are some players on here who are who
It's mad,
you're
isn't it?
thinking, oh my god, how have they not more owned?
It is crazy. It's crazy. But like, should we tell you what we'll do? Should we pick our best striker
Okay,
and
well,
then we'll
from your
do
list,
from my list, then we'll do 2 midfielders, potentially 3, and
yeah,
a defender, shall we? So if we start with forwards, I don't. I'm going to take this player out of it because I think by the time this weekend comes, he's going to be over 10%. But we'll just touch on Jared Bowen just quickly because I don't want us to pick him because he's 8.9% owned now. I think by the weekend he will go up 7.6 mil. So his price has dropped from 8 mil from the start of the season, but West Ham are picking up a little bit of form, and Bowen is doing really well. I know obviously his goal against Chelsea was more of a cross, but they've got Burnley away and then United and Bournemouth at home in the next 3 games. So I think he's a really good one. Again, he's still 7.6. You're looking at getting him in as a second striker rather than a third one, aren't you? I think. Um,
yeah. But
but
he
he
seems to
scored.
always be in games. It's really annoying.
I know. But the thing is with Bowen, like he scored 8 and 12 the last 2 weeks with 2 goals and an assist. But then he's only had an assist in the like 7 games previous to that. So hence his low ownership probably. Um, but yeah, let's move on, mate. Who out of those strikers are you going to choose? Are you going to stick with your man in your team?
Yeah, I kind of have to, don't I,
I think
really?
you do,
Because I've
yeah. Just a
already
little
got
bit.
him.
Why did you pick him, actually? Why did you pick him? That's what's interesting. I know we went on it a little bit last week, but
Y- Yeah, so I picked Broby really because of the form that he was in. And he's now their main striker ahead of Isidore. Um, and as you say, really to have some type of, he's a cheap option. He's only 5.6 mil. Um, and has been scoring goals and he's in games. He is a real pain watching him last night for Burnley
yeah,
against Burnley. He's a
yeah,
real handful for defenders. He's a big bloke. He's got a brilliant first touch. He seems to always be in and around the box.
yeah,
So really, I picked him for that. That he costs nothing, but if he gets, I don't know, 10 goals for me, let's say, that's a hell of a return for only being 5.6 mil. So I'll stick with Broby. I can't really change from him, so I'll stick.
no,
That's an easy decision, I think. There.
yeah. No, I think you're right. But I'm gonna go for Krupi Junior, Junior Krupi. So I saw after our chat last week, mate, we mentioned him in our fantasy app. A few lads in the league jumped on him at his price, but he's currently 4.7 million and he's now 5.9% owned. He's starting to go up, but 4.7 mil, he's going to start. He started the last 4 games. The only thing is he normally gets taken off about the 65th minute, which obviously is okay because he goes past that 60-minute for the 2 points for the appearance points. But his goal was an absolute worldie at the weekend, and I think he's one of those, like when we talked about before with like Evan Nilsson, very different strikers. Krupi Jr. He's quite selfish, like shoots on sight, which I think as a FPL asset at 4.7 mil is fantastic. And I saw quite a few, like I think Ben actually just paired him up front with Haaland this week, didn't he? So you can actually now play him as your second striker. You don't even have to play him as your third. So I think he's real good value. I think we'll probably see his ownership go up to more sort of 7-8% by the weekend. But yeah, he's mine, mate. They got quite a nice little run. They got Villa at home, Everton away, West Ham away, Sunderland at home. Like, not too bad. I think he will start most of those games at 4.7 mil is pretty decent. But we'll move on to midfielders. 2 I want you to pick out of those. I'm going to try, if you choose the ones I want, I'm going to have to go elsewhere. But we've got quite a few midfielders. Sort of, they're differentials for certain reasons. Like I said, lost a bit of form, been away at AFCON, been injured, haven't been in the team.
We can only pick 2. There's so many on this list.
Well, yeah, what do we do? Yeah, let's do 2 to start with, and we might do a third if we've got time, just to mention a third maybe.
Well, again, I'm going to have to stick with what I've picked with in my team.
Yeah.
So the first one, I'm going to go with Iliman and Dye. I know he hasn't had any returns the last 2 games, but I would say he's just trying to find his feet again in the Prem after having a month out, nearly 2 months out at AFCON.
Yeah.
And he's an AFCON winner, right? So he knows he's come back in a bit of a player. He's going to play every game now for Everton with Grealish being out. He's also most likely to take penalties. So that's why I've kept him in. He's only 6.2, as you say, 4% owned. So he'd be my first choice. My second choice is a real rogue one, but he really caught my eye in that Chelsea game, and that was Somerville. But it wasn't just the Chelsea game. He was good before that. And I was watching them on Saturday Night Football on the punditry, and they were doing a bit of analysis on him. And actually, he's the real type of player that Nuno loves.
Yeah.
He's like a workhorse up front. He'll get around. He's got a really good partnership with Jared Bowen. In fantasy, he's only 0.7% owned, and he's only 5.5 mil.
Mad.
So he's definitely one that could replace Harry Wilson because of Harry Wilson. Yes, Harry Wilson's still good in my eyes, but he's gone out of my team. So it's a difficult one for midfield, isn't it? Because you've got a lot of those good central midfielders that are real low prices, like your Rice's, your Enzo Fernandez's, your Bruno Guimaraes'. It's real difficult to then find that differential in there, but you're definitely going to have 1 or 2. So I will go with Ndiaye and Somerville, especially, as you say, with West Ham's games coming up.
Yeah, great shout. I think Somerville is an unbelievable shout. Like I said, 20. He's got 25 points in his last 3 games. He scored 3 and 3.
Yeah,
that goal. He took that goal so well against Chelsea. What a finish!
And he was a handful, wasn't he? He was a real handful.
He was a handful, right? I'm gonna put 2 players together to start with as one. All right, because they're very, very similar. Literally exact ownership, exact price. You're going to get exactly the same. I wouldn't have one. I'd have one or the other. So we firstly got Elliot Anderson, 5% owned, 5.3 million, 104 overall points. Is a DEFCON machine. He's got 8.
He always returns 5 points, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's reached the DEFCON threshold in his last 8 games, which is madness as a midfielder. Which is, bearing in mind, DEFCON threshold for a midfielder is 12. I know they get ball recoveries as well. But if you just go through, these are his last sort of like 5 or 6 games. And he's only got 1 assist in these. So he's got 7.55.744, and that's only with 1 assist. So he really is, and actually I think at the weekend he got 7 points and 3 of those were bonus. So he actually got 3 bonus points for his DEFCON, which is crazy. So alongside him, literally just 0.4% below ownerships is James Garner for Everton. Exactly the same player, 4.6% owned, 5.2 million. He's got 105 points overall, and he's reached the DEFCON threshold in 8 of his last 9 games. So they are pretty much exactly the same player. I think Anderson would probably shade it for me because he potentially is on penalties. He's taken a couple this year. I'm not sure he's on them for the foreseeable, but he would be the one I go to. But I think either of those two are fantastic fifth midfielders. And like Butler said, if you've got a Wilson in your team who's now sort of 6 mil, you can really drop that Wilson
Plus,
down
he's
to,
about 30% owned, isn't he, Harry Wilson?
yeah,
Now must be.
he is. If you drop that, you can drop that down to an Anderson or a Garner and save yourself sort of 0.7, 0.6 mil, and that could be put into elsewhere. But my other one, he's just starting to tick, and I was actually really surprised on his low ownership, is Morgan Gibbs White. So he's 3.5% owned, but the only thing with Gibbs White is his price. So he's 7.3 million. So you are really having to move some funds around to get him in, but he is now, I think, the reason why Forest's forms are starting to pick up. So he's got, in the last 5 games, he's got 3 goals and 1 assist. And he's got how many points has he got? 14. He has 34 points 34 points in the last 5 games. So he's definitely picking up a few more points. I thought they were very good at the weekend. What are their fixtures? They've got, who have they got? They got Leeds away, Wolves at home in the next 2. Then it gets a bit tricky. But if you're looking to jump on someone, if you have the cash, I think he's definitely someone to have a look at moving forward. So they're my 2. Well, Elliot Anderson or James Garner, and then Morgan Gibbs White. But we've got so many here, mate, haven't we? Do you want to just choose one more just to sort of gloss over? Maybe from the under 2% ownership. I was surprised. I was actually surprised with Amad Diallo's ownership.
Yeah,
At
that would be the
1.7%.
only one on that list that I'd probably.
Does anyone else just throughout that list stand out in terms of midfielders?
No, I think we've covered the main 4 or 5 there because you've got Garner and Anderson. Anderson really annoys me because he sat on my bench for so long.
I know.
He
He's
just
a bench
constantly
player, isn't
picked
he?
up
But he just
5
picks up so
points.
many points. Yeah.
Not really, actually. Just looking at that list, I think actually we've pulled out the main ones. As you say, Elmer Dallo is an interesting one. Now with Dogu out injured. I don't know if Diallo really gets in. He's more of the pass before or the cross before the assist, isn't he?
Yeah.
Before that, maybe Cunha. Now that Doku's out injured, but again, I do like Sesko, and I think he's going to start playing him more. He's got a brilliant goal to win the game the other day.
He did.
So,
He did. He's only 3.4% owned Sesko as well, isn't
so
he?
it's a tough balance that Michael Carrick's got there, but yeah, no, I think we're good. Should we move on to the defenders? Because
this was
this
tough.
is another tough one. Yeah.
This was tough. We'll pick one of these. There wasn't many to choose from, I must say. I just want to. We're probably not going to choose them, but United defence, I wouldn't be jumping on them, but Maguire, Martinez, and Shaw are all under 2% owned, and they are very, very cheap. I saw Peak sporting Maguire this week, and I actually spoke to him last night, and he said until he gave away the pen, he had a clean sheet and was on for like 2 or 3 bonus, and then literally gave away a pen, booking, clean sheet gone, bang. So it would have been a really, really good shout, I think. But 4.3 mil, like, not a bad shout. I don't like it because they can't keep a clean sheet to save their lives.
Excuse me. Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? United are leaky at the back. Even the other day. So yeah,
Who are you
I
picking
spoke
out of
to
those?
Peaks about it as well. It's difficult because obviously Munoz is on there. I really like Munoz. He's just coming back from injury though. Palace, we don't really know. We're not really sure about. I'd probably maybe lean more towards those Forest defenders,
Yeah.
Milinkovic and Murillo. Forest are looking a bit more solid at the back. If out of any of that list, we haven't got a great selection here. Let's be honest. So
No.
I'd probably lean to either Murillo or Milinkovic. But again, they're both very expensive for what you get return. They're 5 mil. Um,
Yeah,
is
there's
that
not a great
really is that really all we've got to choose from?
Well, there was sort of your Palace assets have gone down a lot. So like your Lacroix are at 5.7% owned now, and like Munoz. So they're actually all differentials now. Richards 2%, Mitchell 2%. So they're not too
I'd
bad. You
maybe
got
probably even look at Collins at Brentford as a differential. Maybe he's only
He's
3.7% owned.
3.8. Yeah, exactly. I was just their fixtures are a bit naughty now, aren't they? The next two games they got Newcastle away and Arsenal at home.
Yeah, I tell you who Aldereta looked good last night for Sunderland. I know he hasn't
Yeah, I've got him
really
actually.
pulled many recently. Um, he had a bit of a bland period, I think, for about 4 or 5 games where he only got 1 point, but he looked good last night. But again, Sunderland have got a tough run of games now. They've got Arsenal, Liverpool, Fulham, Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, if out of anything, it would just probably be maybe Nathan Collins. But again, Brentford have got a tough run of games as well. I think they've got Newcastle, Arsenal, Brighton.
Yeah, I didn't put him in because, but I do like Mateus Nunes for City. He's 3.2%. And the only problem with Nunes, he's 5.4 million. But he's basically guaranteed that right back slot now, isn't he? Like
Yeah, it looks that way.
He got 11 points against Wolves. Do you know what I mean? With an assist. Like he pops up with
But
the odd
then, but
assist
then,
now.
but then City themselves are so leaky at the back as well, aren't they? They're
That's what I
just
mean.
doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting him in for 5.4 mil.
I think it's
I just
real
want
difficult to
Yeah,
pick a
I just want some
defender.
clean sheets. I really want some clean sheets. But no, it's tough. It really is tough, especially if you're doubled up on the Arsenal defense. Like, who else do you pick to go with those two? But yeah, it's really tough to have a look at defenders. Those Forest pair of Milenkovic and Maria, who were pretty much in everyone's team last year at this point, weren't they?
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
they're only
yeah.
3.3% and 2% owned, and they're 5.1 and 5.2 mil, which is crazy. But we'll just finish on keepers, mate. Not a lot to pick from. Um,
It's another
it's
drab list.
it's not yeah. In terms of selection, quite a lot of keepers are quite highly owned. And if you're going down to not many people have Vicario, Pope, Verbruggen, like these teams do. Leno, they do sort of ship a lot of goals. You've got the only one I did have in here was Petrovic. I know he got an 11-point haul at the week, sorry, 10-point haul against Wolves, but
Mm.
that was his first clean sheet in almost 10 games. So I wouldn't be jumping on him. The only thing with that, their fixtures aren't too bad with Petrovic. He's 4.3% owned. The good thing about Petrovic, he's 4.5 million. But what do you think about keepers? Just having a look on the fantasy website, mate. Like,
So what? Yeah, what I've just done is I've just dug out who's making the most amount of saves and getting the most points from saves.
yeah,
Obviously Dubravka's up there because Burnley are terrible, and he's not getting really the points for your buck. But in terms of actually low, as you say, Verbruggen and Petrovic, definitely. Riola's only 2.2% owned, but West Ham do ship goals though, don't they? So I wouldn't
yeah,
probably wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. It's difficult. Dean Henderson's probably a no-go because of how Palace are at the moment. They're going to have to rebuild their back four or back five, whatever it is. It's so different. I suppose with the goalies, most people own one of those premium goalies, don't you?
yeah.
You don't really take a gamble.
On a
Um,
keeper, no.
no, I suppose the only differential, you can't really class him as differential because he's 10.1% owned, but maybe Kelleher at Brentford. Um, but I suppose we can't really class him in our category there because he's over 10%. But it's a tough one. I can't pick off that list, Siege. The three
No.
goalies that you've given
Well,
me.
the interesting one I did have on here was Emi Martinez. Like, he
Yeah,
is only 3.4%
yeah.
owned.
I had him in before and he pissed me off, so yeah, I
I
won't
know
be
you
going back
did.
to him.
I know you did. Like, He's the only thing they've got, obviously, Bournemouth away, then Brighton at home in 25 and 26. Then they've got Leeds at home and Wolves away in 27 and 28. Okay.
Mm.
So, but again, they do not keep a lot of clean sheets. They've kept, oh my gosh, not many.
What about
They got,
Leno at Fulham?
yeah, I saw Leno. I'm not sure. Like, I just
He's only
associate Fulham with shipping a lot of
1.6%.
goals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think he's kept a clean sheet. I'm just looking at he hasn't kept a clean sheet since game week 18.
yeah, he had back-to-backs there, 17, 18, didn't he?
Yeah,
But
but apart
apart
from
from that,
that, Fulham have
not
conceded
ideal.
every week.
They pretty much, that's what I mean. I've just got that. Even like having Anderson at the back, like great for DEFCON, but he does concede every week. Like you still want like your Mukielis last night. You want your, I know he got an assist, but you want your clean sheets to be paired with DEFCON to get that 8 points, don't you, if you can?
Mm. I wouldn't have got touch any of those goalies. I'll just stick with your premium goalie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't think like you said, differentials with keepers, you're lucky with if you do it. And I think what we're finding now in our head-to-head league is that a lot of people go against each other and have the same keepers. But if you have got a different keeper in our head-to-head league, it is massive. Like, I think I had Sanchez a few weeks back, and I don't know what he got. He had a really good haul, and then you're pretty much like 10 points ahead. I think you got double
He likes
digits,
making
and
saves, doesn't he?
yeah, I was playing someone who had just a 2-point keeper, and it's a massive, massive swing. But yeah, mate, that sort of concludes the fantasy app. Really enjoyed that. Like, hopefully that's given people a lot of things to think about, particularly at this stage in the season. I was really glad we decided to do this app tonight, because even from conversation with Connor earlier, was just talking about even in normal points leagues, people are looking at differentials to sort of try and move up, because everyone at this stage of the season's got that almost template team, that template midfield, that template defense. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, good one. Enjoyed that.
Do you want to do the honours, mate?
Yeah, it means nothing to me now. The playoffs is probably gone for me, but yeah, I'll do it anyway. We'll let the fantasy gods be with you, and we'll see you on Friday. Cheers, Siege.
Cheers, mate. See you Friday.
It's the Sonny and Shah Fantasy League.
And even though Son has left for the MLS,
our head-to-head league is still the best. Hosted by
Alex,
Ben,
CJ,
ABC.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
it's another fantasy podcast.
Oh, fuck me.